Hey, I'm Phil from Contemplative Chaos.
And I'm Dominic.
And I'm Alex.
And thanks for tuning into our channel about parent-child bonding through shared activities. Today we're going to show you how to make your own maple syrup with your kids.
We'll go over the tools, equipment, science, and technique for small-scale syrup making.
And answer the question, is it worth it?
Okay, let's get started. Dominic, looks like we're gonna have to stop by maple syrup for your pancakes.
Stop buying maple syrup? Why?
Well, it says right here that Trump tariffs placed on Canada will raise the cost of maple syrup making equipment and the cost of maple syrup. I'm not gonna be able to afford any maple syrup. Can you believe it? The only good thing Canada provides to the world will be out of reach to the average Joe.
Well, that would only apply to real maple syrup, Dad, not the fake stuff that we eat.
What fake stuff?
You know that the stuff that we eat isn't real maple syrup, right?
No, Aunt Jemima wouldn't lie to me.
Well, they're not lying to you. It says so right in the ingredients list.
Ingredients? Who reads the ingredients? Corn syrup?
Corn syrup, that's right. My only question is, how do you tap a corn stalk? Get it?
I don't get it. What's a tap? Well, I've been fooled. I can't trust anybody. Looks like we're gonna have to make some ourselves. Okay, maybe I'm not that ignorant, but making maple syrup isn't as easy as turning on a spigot from a maple tree. It's not rocket science either, but it does require the right equipment, the right knowledge, the right time of year, the right trees, and the right weather. With the weather being the typical wrench in the gears. Okay, let's start with the right equipment.
Hi guys, and a special hi to our subscribers. Okay, so for tapping, we're going to need taps. We have two designs right here. You'll probably see these ones.
And we'll post a link in the description of where you can find some of these.
Yep. And then you need buckets. If you don't have these, you can just use a 5-gallon pail or something. And then covers.
That prevents stuff from getting in the bucket.
Yeah, you don't want that in your syrup. And then 7/16 drill bit with a driver and a hammer. You're good to go.
And missing the most important thing. What's the most important thing?
The trees!
We need trees, don't we?
So we are going to stick our taps in this bucket right here.
Nick, cut it out.
And then once we have this, we're going to pour boiling water over that to sterilize it. So that way, when we put them into the tree, they don't get any like stuff that we don't want in there, like bacteria and diseases. There we go.
Let's get tapping. Where we live, this usually starts around the middle of February and ends last week of March, but this year it was too cold then. And now it's looking too warm. Ideally, the temperatures should fall into the mid-20s at night and rise well above freezing during the day. This encourages the sap to flow from the roots up to the buds. The warm days and cold nights are analogous to the snooze button, waking you up gradually before the trees jump into spring, triggering the sugars stored over winter to make it to the buds of the tree. As mentioned earlier, we need the right trees to tap. Sugar maple is the traditional tree to tap with about 2% sugar content, but most maple trees will work with varying amounts of sugar in their sap. We have sugar, red, and silver maple to choose from. And now is when you wish you were better at tree identification. It can be challenging for a novice to identify the trees in the winter. Pay attention during the summer when the leaves are still on, and you'll have much better luck. So you want to drill your holes about 1.5 to 2 inches into the wood. So this one we're going to do it right here. Want to drill at a slight upward angle. You can see it's already starting to flow. Make your hammer and tap the spile into the wood. A question we get a lot is, does it hurt the tree? Well, the tree's never said ouch when I've tapped it, so no. Maybe a better question is whether it damages the tree. As long as the proper guidelines are followed, tapping trees do not damage the tree. A few guidelines are, trees should be 10 to 12 inches in diameter before they are tapped. Trees should be 18 to 24 inches in diameter for 2 taps, and even larger for 3 taps. Make sure to choose healthy trees, and don't tap where you tapped last year. That is where I drilled a hole a number of years ago, so we want to avoid that same hole and drill a little bit further over. And take your tap, also known as a spile. Last tray is the big one in the front yard. So Don, we actually want to do on the south side. One hole. We'll call this one 2 holes right here. There you go. That'll hold 2.
2 more. That's water.
It is.
Alright, Mick, you want to set this bucket on?
Okay.
So what you want to do, see how there's a hole? Yeah, there we go. Stick that right on the hook.
Perfect. This one's coming out.
You want to do this one too? No? There we go.
Perfect.
Woo! Hold on. I can get my...
Then we wait. Taps will produce sap for 3 to 6 weeks, but the tree will compartmentalize the wound and thus shut off the flow of sap. This isn't a problem because by mid-spring, the sap begins to taste funny anyways. Lastly, make sure to remove the taps after tapping is completed for the season. What's great about having kids help you is that it gets them outside in early spring. Collecting sap is something that the kids can do when I'm at work, so it's ready to boil when I get home. The kids work together to lug the heavy buckets to the evaporating pot. We collect sap whenever the sap runs. On a good day, we may collect a full bucket of sap per tree, or about 2 gallons. On a bad day, not so much. It isn't the size of the trunk that determines how much sap you'll get. It's the crown. The larger the crown, the more sap.
I spilled a bit.
Hold it. Oh man! Dad's gonna kill me, Celia! What are we gonna do? Oh, is there any left?
Dominic, I have an idea.
What's that?
It's mostly water anyways. Dad's not gonna know the difference.
Yeah, you're right.
And now we start boiling.
How does boiling sap make maple syrup? Yeah.
Well, maple sap has about a 2 to 4% sugar content in it. And when you boil the sap, the water evaporates, leaving behind the sugars. It takes about 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of maple syrup. That means you have to boil off 39 gallons of water.
Wow, that's cool. I can't wait to taste it. Yeah.
But wait, there's more. If that were the end of the story, syrup would be no more than glorified sugar water. But when maple sap is boiled, it undergoes caramelization in a process called a Maillard reaction. This non-enzymatic browning reaction between amino acids and reducing sugars occurs during boiling and contributes to the syrup's complex flavor and color. In commercial setups, reverse osmosis is utilized to concentrate the sugars before boiling, but for as little as we have, boiling is fine, but it takes a long time. But done in the early spring, it's a relaxing time outside with the family, no different than having a campfire. We were finally able to figure out an effective and efficient method of boiling the sap. So we have an old T-joint from a 10-inch wood stove pipe, and we have the maple sap hanging from a 4-gallon pot. Having a little stove out here is also a good excuse to pick up all the storm twigs that fell, branches. And it's also an excuse to have your son split some wood.
There we go.
Dad, when's the syrup ready? You've been boiling it all day long.
It's almost ready. I'm gonna reduce it a little bit more and then I'm gonna bring it to the propane stove to monitor its temperature. We're waiting for the temperature of the boiling sap to reach 219 degrees.
Is that syrup's favorite number?
Kind of. At sea level, that temperature indicates that the syrup is 66% sugar. Anything more than that will crystallize too readily, and much less than that, it won't be shelf stable. About 219 degrees, I guess we're good. I'll pass it through some cheesecloth and we'll put in some mason jars. Good?
Yep. We can lose 2 sheets there. I'll show you why. Rock, scissors, rock, pancakes?
Why don't you go potty?
Tariff-free maple syrup. Canada's got nothing on us. Hey, easy with that maple syrup. That thing's worth $70 a gallon.
Well, Dad, was it worth it?
It's good, but it took hours and hours after work to process this. I could have just worked those hours and bought the maple syrup myself, but then I wouldn't have done it with you guys, and that's what this is all about. So, yeah, it was worth it.
Dad, that's kind of sappy.
Honestly though, this was a lot of work. Don't forego time with your kids to do it. Get them involved in the process. Or if you don't have your own trees, patronize your local sugar house. They'd love to have you support them and ask questions about the process. And don't forget to bring your kids to pass down this age-old art to younger generations. Okay, if you like this kind of content, you want to see more,
Smash that like
and
button.
subscribe to the channel. Till next time, God bless.
God bless.
Daddy, can I have a pancake?
Yeah. Hey, I'm Phil from Contemplative Chaos.
And I'm Dominic.
Okay.
Is there any left?
What do we even say? What do I even say?
Oh! Man, Dad's gonna kill me. It's terrible, wasn't it?